All right. We are doing something now. We're preparing lamps and getting hugs, bro hugs, of course. All right. I will show you today. I will show you an insight into my process of painting that goes through several stages. I will show you how I set up the wet palette. I will show you how I start a project in the first initial stage. I will go through 3 stages to finish a project in the next 2 hours or 3 hours. We will see how this goes because I'm very not used to paint under so much light. That's why I brought some. No, I forgot the sunglasses, but these are glasses actually. And when I paint, I don't use glasses. You might ask yourself why I wear that hat. I wear that hat because my brain is more tied together as soon as I wear that hat. I don't have hair. So, well, back to basics. I'm showing you insight into my process, and we are actually painting a small astronaut. All right, we are starting a challenge soon via our blog, massivevoodoo.com. And the challenge is about small astronauts. These astronauts can be, you can get these astronauts, really tiny 50mm astronauts, a little thicker, fat ones, funny ones, sculpted by Momo Pügel and will be distributed by Mr. Lee's Miniatures, so you can get them there very soonish, as soon as the challenge starts. And I will paint, my version will be, together with Joshua Lay's version, will be first and second prize. And I want to show you the astronaut now. He looks like this. He's really super tiny. At the moment the project is unprimed. You see how big my thumb is because I'm a big guy, but the astronaut actually is really tiny. This base was actually built by me before I came to Spain, and the base is built from a part I found from construction workers. So there was like a piece of, I think they used it to fill gaps in a wall or something. And it was just lying on the ground close to my studio, and I took the whole piece and just cut out this element, and I really enjoyed the structure I have here. So I like to pick up garbage and use it for my basing. I really like this because the astronaut looks so like on a different planet. This is actually also the reason for the Massive Voodoo Challenge. We want you to be inspired and creative by showing us where these small astronauts can travel. And it's your open imagination that we want to tickle and sparkle and put that flame out. So be inspired. There are 3 different poses of these astronauts. One is waving, one is pointing upwards and looking upwards, and the other one is pointing downwards. So you can really have, I think, cool ideas, and we're looking forward to see them. For your information, I've set up my wet palette now, and I placed my primary colors, usually from Schminke or Scale 75 artistic colors. So these in tubes, and the ones from Schminke look like this. Wait a second, there we go. They look like this. But there are several other companies brands who produce them, so pick the ones you like. From my primaries, I created my secondaries, and I added white and black to it so I can create gray to desaturate a color. And I can also desaturate with complementary colors. If you did not hear about that yet in the Miniatureart Academy, do ask for your money back. But I think it's already knowledge that you know. All right, wet palette is set up, so this is where I start from. And I will now talk a little bit about the small astronaut. I will paint from a vision, actually. That means I have in mind where I want to end up. I will do this in a free ride after I primed him in a second. I will do this in a free ride that starts very rough with a sketch for the full atmosphere and ambience and everything. And I will also paint the model on top of the base. I will go through 3 different stages. One is the one that makes my vision clear in the beginning as a sketch. And the second one is working on a little bit of detail. And the third one will be finalizing details and finalizing work. My plan is to fulfill this in the next 2 to 3 hours. Let's see where this goes. So I'm going to prime. It's prime time. All right, that's me again. back from priming, and I always say everything happens for a reason. Usually I prime black and white, followed by white. Usually I use GW sprays. In this case I did the same, but I had an accident with the white primer, as it was like spitting. And what I really enjoy about such accidents is I always say everything happens for a reason. So look at this, you can see some dots and things going on. I mean, I don't mind because I will paint over it, but maybe I can use the texture that's already placed there. I bet I won't see it after my first approach, but I know it's there and maybe I can bring it out again. So if I don't remember, I could make a photo now to just get a feeling for it, but I just continue. Speaking about continuing, I will paint on this. So I have to speak about my vision first. My vision actually is initial for me and important, as I don't go through a painting process where I say I will use this color and use this color. I rather see my vision in my brain. My vision for this little guy is he will have a white astronaut armor that is influenced by the ambience, and the ambience will be influenced by the planet he's on. So my plan for the planet is a very saturated, strong magenta, actually, you can say, or a purple going on. I don't put this down to a name of a color or something. And I will have like blue shadows. My plan is to have, over here I want to have strong magenta, and down here in that cave I want to have a blue glow or something, and he's standing up there. So the white of the astronaut will be influenced by the really strong. So for setting this up, I will check back with my wet palette, and I will set up my contrast range for my wet and wet sketch, you can say. So I need a basic color actually that I mainly take as my ambience or environmental color. So I'm going for that magenta over here, and say with a tiny drop of blue, that's actually the scale 75 color. I will add a tiny drop of blue to it, cyan, to create that purple thing, but I will keep the blue a little bit less to stay more in the magenta area. But adding a little bit of blue to it makes it easy later on for me to connect with the blues I paint in there. Alright, this is my basic color. So I want to go darker with it, so I will add a tiny drop of blue. This will be my first shadow because I want to go blue in the shadow, and then I will add some black to it. So I'm actually preparing my contrast range I'm working with. So I have to go for highlights too, but then I have to clean the brush because I cannot prepare highlights with a dirty, shadowy brush. So for the highlights, my main thing is I'm going more into magenta, like this. It's not highlights, it's more a highlight of saturation because I kind of changed my basic color already away from magenta. And for highlights later on I will use some white, and there's a drop of magenta in it, which is not bad. Okay, everything happens for a reason. That's what I always say. This is my contrast range. Important now is that I use my basic color for my way of painting wet and wet. I use my basic color creamy. That means I will add a drop of water to it, and I need a large amount of it. Where is the large amount? The wet palette is quite far away from me, which is very uncommon for me to work with, but I will get used to it. So luckily I have long arms. There we go. This is where I start. And I will use this creamy. Creamy means I will add a tiny drop of water to it, but not as much so I don't see the ground of the wet palette. So I will not use a glaze. It's rather thick. From here on, I will slap this color. I will slap it rather quickly. Before I start, I will explain it to you. I will slap this color with a big brush to the full base. And while this is creamy, as long as you keep a big lake of color, you can work a long time on it, like 5 to 10 minutes or 7 minutes until it dries. During its stage of being wet, I can mix in my shadows and my highlights. That's how I paint wet and wet. Let me show it to you. Alright, I need my big brush, which is, if he's still alive, that's my big brush. I sit comfortable for you guys, and I go back to my wet palette and grab my primary color, my basic color. Alright, so mixing this up. and now I will make it creamy again. I will do a bit more, and now I slap it on my base. And like I said, I slap it on my base. I go like a wide bore. I don't care too much. I miss a little bit of water in there. So you might say, yeah, what he's doing, he might lose some detail, and I tell you, yes, I'm losing 0.7% of detail. I don't care. My brain was actually checking back with language. That was good. So I slap this on everywhere I want to. See, it's really saturated, and I will bring out more saturation later on, even more. I don't want to see the primer anymore, so I have to keep in mind that the texture is there and it's not lost. So I will mainly work on this area. I will take this too, and I will also go from the back. I will skip the astronaut now, because I don't want to lose too much detail on him. It's a small tiny figure in 50 millimeters, and I want to avoid that actually. So there we go. It's really like bum, 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 bum. You can make noise to it, it makes more fun. There we go. Now this is all wet. What I'm doing now is I'm actually going in with some shadows. So I will paint shadows without cleaning the brush. I will just take some blue that I prepare for the shadows. I will mix it in, and it's more like mixing it in. It's not just like I place it and then I'm done. No, I have to paint. So painting means I will move my brush around, and I will bring this to a blue stage down here. And for me, it's not important that I do great blends at the moment. It's just like a sketch of my vision. Where do I have some more shadows? Down here maybe. We can go down here. I really have to get used to the setup, but I'm doing well, I hope. So sorry for that small, I just jumped out of the picture. I'm not such a professional when it comes to videos and such. There we go. Bam, 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 bam. Then I go darker even, down here in that area, where I really want to have the shadow down here. I will take a tiny drop of black, place it in there, bam. But I have to mix it in, paint it in. You see, black is a beast, and black does change this a whole lot, so I used quite a lot. I go back to some blue and mix it in. I still paint, bum, 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 bum. You see the colors are already connecting, and before the part down there is quite okay for me right now. I'm missing a little bit of the basic color on this area, so I just bring it back. I always do what I feel my inner painter's voice is telling me. So if I miss something, or if I want to change something, I change it without a second thought. So I just do. All right, now I'm going for the highlights. And for the highlights, I'm just going into more magenta and place it on top of the wet area. That means over here. Over here. And I mix it in. More saturation. More power of the color. More Kamehameha.